Hello and welcome along to the latest edition of the Endless Celts Podcast. Do not refresh your browser. This is not a hoax. I've put the big boy pants on and I'm going in the hosting seat for a night to try it out. And I'm delighted to be joined by Stephen, my deadly duo partner. I couldn't have done it with somebody better. The gaffers had to come in to make sure I do things right here. So how are you doing, Stephen? How are we doing?
All good, man. A wee bit emotional. Wee tear come down my cheek. This is the day we've all been waiting for. Franny Carney and the host there. You'll be fine, lad. I mean, there's plenty to talk about. -12 outside, top of the league, although we didn't win the game, but they lost it. I don't know what they're saying. Captain Tav on the rampage, but we're going to get into all that, Franny. I'm sitting here, as you said, with a roll of cola.
With your roll of cola. We'll to worry about Hamden. James Tavernier's he's just rinsing and repeating into that guy, man. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
It's what I find the most hilarious thing about it is like every time we seem to get a result, a win, draw, whatever it may be, we're going to see a different version of them in the next game. It's like many versions that these guys got.
They're already moonlighting, aren't they?
That's very true. It's incredible, and as I said, dear Franny, plenty to celebrate. I'm looking forward to tonight's chat.
Right. Well, before we get into all that, just thanks for everybody that's watching along that evening, Phil. And I better thank the show sponsors, Sharna. Some good gear in that. I think they've just released their summer stuff, Stephen. I think you've ordered some stuff.
I've ordered two caps.
Like a wee smaller badge in that. I quite like the.
Yep.
I sort of feel like a khaki type one. I've got my eyes on that, to be fair. That's quite nice. And if you follow a link that's on the ticker below, it's you get 10% off with discount and stuff. And then I'm obviously going to talk about the Super Six. I'm fucking top. So
No.
I actually extended my lead by 2 points. I mean, if my lead was,
I think you're only one. I think you're only one who doesn't.
Anyway, I'll give the top five. The top five is myself on 412, Stephen Coulthard on 390, Mark Robertson on 383. I think he had a good week that week, and he's boosted up the leaderboard a wee bit. Fourth is Jamie Lattimore. He's been hanging about for a wee while. Joint fifth is James Bowie and Kevin Hempsey on 364. Ross for the podcast, the only closest person for the podcast is Ross on 352. He's sitting in seventh. Willie would probably up there, but I think he just forgets to do it most of the time.
Well, he's pitched. Well, he's comatose. I don't know what he's doing.
I think he's still drunk for Saturday. That boy enjoyed that wedding. He done it right.
Oh.
But that's all that nonsense out the way. Let's get talking about us Celtic at Saturday. What a game, Stephen. Just give us your brief thoughts in the game and stuff. How you seen the game and stuff.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I think we could have played better. I think in the last maybe 3 derby games we haven't quite turned up, but managed to get a draw and 2 wins in the cup final. Draw at Ibrox, and obviously the win at Parkhead in the weekend, 3-2. What I love about this team is just the attitude. You know what I mean? We're going into this game with the likes of Atate being out. There was doubts over Taylor. Moy came in, who wasn't match fit in my opinion. I'm pretty sure we're going to touch upon the Australian Sedan at some point. I thought, in all honesty, to be fair, like Rangers came and did kind of a job on us tactically. I think they were pushing up on McGregor quite a lot. They were marking him out in the game, leaving Starfelt on the ball. And we all know he's not quite comfortable playing out from the back. But again, the class, do you know what I mean? It always seeps through with this team, and we keep going until we get that result. And we did. And to be fair, at 3-1, Franny, you're thinking 4-5, maybe you're getting the party hat on. And then the last 10 minutes was a shit show. But we got through it. We got the win. It's freezing outside. We're 12 points clear. League title is back in Parkhead. I'm absolutely buzzing. Do you know what I mean? What more can you say? Excellent.
Well, I do agree with you in your analysis of the game there, Steve. I thought the cup final, but going back to the cup final, I thought for about 60 minutes we were really good that game. I don't think the scoreline really. But maybe that was down to how Rangers kind of approached the game. Because I agree, the cup final they seemed to set off us a wee bit, and I do agree. I think for a good part of the game anyway, on Saturday they did push us high and stuff. Like the gamble, that's fair enough. They've kind of got nothing.
But they had to.
They had to. They've got nothing really to lose and stuff. And they did. I think they did press as well and stuff. And yeah, we did. I don't know. We didn't really turn up. We did struggle, but like you say, the cream rises to the top and stuff, and we got the job done. It's 12 points clear. I don't know if you've seen Sterling Petrov on Twitter. He's got a picture saying we just a wee selfie with the SPFL trophy and stuff, and saying he's asking to come home if I can bring him home.
I looked at a picture on Twitter, and it was like the titles we've won since they died, and they've won one. That's quite incredible since they've been back in the top league. Obviously, alienating as the same club, which we all know they're not. And you said about the cup final, I totally agree. What I meant was with my comment overall in a 90-minute game, we haven't actually shown what we can do. Do you know what I mean, in the last 3 Derby games? But to win ugly, to win when we're not at our best, like Alistair said, we were pish. Maybe not pish, Alistair, but I know what you mean. And we still managed to beat them. That must, for Michael Beale and Tavernier, that must knock the stuffing out of them. Like, what more can they do? What more can they physically do against the Celtic team? Incredible by Postecoglou.
Because, I think at Ibrox, a 2-2 game, and on Saturday, I thought they played McGregor well for large spells of the game. And then what Patrick McLaughlin's that I think when you not isolate McGregor, but if you manage to start him with the ball, I think it slows Celtic down a wee bit. I'm not as fluent but good teams and good players they find ways to combat that, and I think just patience and we done that, and like say it proved well, and we got the result. But we'll get talking into some of the bits of the game and stuff, and I mean I suppose you've got to start with the Morelos goal. It's the first big Kyogo's is the first one, but obviously it's blatant offside. It's easy as anything. It was an easy decision. Yeah, so we'll talk about the Morelos decision. Do you think? For me, I think we've got away with one, Stephen. At the other end, I'd be wanting that goal and stuff. I understand why the referees gave the foul. When you see the pictures for his angle, it looks like Morelos has kind of pushed him and stuff. I think Alistair Johnston's maybe got stuck under the ball. We see how much a beast the guy is and stuff. I'd be wanting him to be a wee bit stronger, and I think we got away with one there. Somebody might correct me in the comments as well. I don't know if because we got away with it for VAR. I think Dermot Gallagher said today in Rest Watch it was because it's not a clear and obvious error for the referee for his angle. But also, I don't know if you remember the Giacomakis goal against Hearts in the first game when VAR came in. He scored a header, but the referee blew for a foul before the ball was in net. So I don't know if VAR couldn't get involved because of that. But for me, I think we got away with one with the Morelos goal. I don't know about yourself.
I mean, to be fair with you, Franny, I've seen it. I've looked at it. Obviously, in the emotion of the game, watching it with McGranda, who's in the comments, you're going, it's a foul because you don't want obviously them to get that goal and get the kind of the momentum on their side. You can either look at it both ways here. I mean, Johnson, with his experience, is probably using that to a certain extent. He knows any touch in the back, if he goes down, it's going to get looked at one way or another. Clancy blew the whistle. Therefore, unless they deem it a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity or an error, they can't really get involved. And another reason, because as well, in the technical sense of things, if just for example, if you're making a break and someone puts 2 hands on you, you get the free kick anyway. So it's going to be a foul in any other instance of the pitch. So I think that's why VAR didn't get involved in that. You want Johnson to be stronger, and I know fine well that if it was us, and if it was, for example, Kyogo was in that position and Goldson put the 2 hands on him, and we didn't get our Kyogo did that to Goldson. And in a hypothetical world, obviously 2 different sizes there, but just comparing, you're wanting that goal to stand because it's a contact sport and you have to be touch tight, especially defending set pieces. But it's ironic for me that Michael Beale came out after and basically lambasted 2 of our goals. And you look at this, and we could write a list as long as any road in the world or any motorway in the world and about decisions that went our way. Sometimes I want to take these and just move forward because we deserve the rub of the green. And to be honest with you, it's a long time coming, in my opinion. And I've seen the abuse Kevin Clancy's been getting, like death threats to his family, death threats to him. I don't agree with that. I mean, referee, regardless if they make a decision against your team or another opposing team, it's their job at the end of the day, and we all do give them grief. So, I mean, to take it that far is a bit nuts in terms of what's happening at the minute. But yeah, Franny, Johnson maybe should have been stronger. Morelos, shouldn't have maybe put his two hands on him. So it's 50-50 for me. If the goal was given, I would have understood. If the goal's chalked up, and you understand why. But just to come to the comments, to get the comments involved, let's see. Todd Cantwell says Celtic did him in because he does not know 3-2. 3 beats 2. What a plonker. Kevin 14. If AJ was the one who pushed Morelos, he would have gone down like a sack of spuds and they'd be screaming for a pen. Ref got it right. Patrick McLaughlin, just the narrative to try and keep a belief in the damn team, Lawrence. Jed Thomas, evening all. Good to have you on, Phil. They're so hell-bent in blaming Kevin Clancy when in fact it went to VAR decision and they gave it as a foul. Believe it was Nick Walsh in the VAR room. Shouldn't they be angry at him? Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like as I said, I think most of the comments can understand if it was given, and if it was left up to VAR, Nick Walsh has made that final call. So there's a chain of events that's led to this decision, and Kevin Clancy's just done what he's told. Should he have went and checked it? Probably not. I think this is where the grey area comes in for me, because you look at it and it's still not a clear and obvious error, because it could be deemed a foul, and I'm just happy it didn't get conceded and we didn't go 1-0 behind, I believe, at the time. And just to see Morelos kind of crumble again, that wee double chin shaking, you have to know it.
Oh, it was good. It was good because you seen the desperation. He wheeled away in a wee sort of a half celebration, and you seen it coming back, and he was pleading. I mean, for me, I do believe we got away with one, and you just don't know what happens if they get that goal. It gives them a wee boost.
I think to be fair as well, different angles in the TV show, and it looks like in some angles it's a slight push, but when you see the one where you can kind of see them like this, do you mean like that?
It looks like one as well. Like he pulls in, pushes them as well.
Yeah. So again,
I'm still wanting Johnston to be stronger there.
Aye, 110%. But again, I think in his back of his mind, he's using a bit of experience there.
And I think like Ross has said in the chat earlier, we've been hearing things are going to level themselves out. So maybe this was just the start of it.
Get the chalkboard out, because this is the start of a long journey. Like, no thing.
I know, I saw fellas. It's still a fellow, Alistair. I agree. But well, we move on for that, and then we don't let the heads drop, but so to speak. And then the main man, Kyogo, pops up again in the big match. I can't remember who played the pass, and I don't know if it was Taylor. Aye, but I was meaning the pass into Matt O'Reilly. I can't remember. But I thought the take for O'Reilly was absolutely brilliant. Just that one touch into stride, and he just doesn't lash it across the box. I think if you watch Kyogo's movement, it makes a couple of runs to the front post, and I think I thought Kyogo's intelligence proper showed, because he's everybody always usually goes to the front post, because 9 times out of 10 Kyogo's not got to beat you in there if he dink one over or hang a cross up. And I think Kyogo's intelligence just to stay still essentially has got him the goal, because I think the defenders moved towards the front post and Kyogo's just kind of standing free space, and just that spin and turn gets us off. It gets us a goal, Stephen. I don't know what you thought about the goals in Kyogo in general.
Well, I mean, I have to give credit to Matt O'Reilly, first of all. That touch to take, I think it was 2 players out of the game, and the composure to find Kyogo in the middle of the box. And what you have to appreciate about Kyogo is, like, when the defenders are dropping back, your instinct as a striker is probably to follow and try and get in, as you said, to the front post area and find that flick on. But he stops, and time literally stands still. It must in his brain, because he's scanning around him. He can see O'Reilly's making that run on the left-hand side, so he's trying to make that kind of angle to get that pass back. And Matt O'Reilly looked up, and it was into his feet, controlled it, swiveled, and McGregor, in his old age, couldn't get across in time, and I know he got a hand to it, and he palmed it into the bottom right-hand corner. But Kyogo in these games has been incredible, and I know, like we always just say Giakoumakis and stuff, and Giakoumakis did do a great job, let's be honest, especially in the 3-0 game when we absolutely destroyed them at Parkhead. But Kyogo's just different gravy for me, and what I love as well, like, he can be quite minimal in his effectiveness throughout the whole game, and he pops up with a double. He just has to be in the right areas at the right time, and just to kind of, again, for Matt O'Reilly to find that pass in the first place, because he hasn't been in the best of form. Do you know what I mean? He's come into this game, probably he would be on the bench if Rio Hatate was fit, let's be honest, because Moy was kind of on form until this game. But I thought that Kyogo, usually sometimes, as Willie would say, he might snatch that chance, but he took it well. He swiveled the defender, made him go one way. He striked it and went in, and it was a perfect way to get 1-0 up. And you have to appreciate a player like this while he's a Celtic. I seen on a Twitter post or something like that there was scouts apparently at the game watching him, according to Pat Nevin. So that's one thing. Again, you don't want to lose a player of this caliber. I
No.
don't quite see him going. I think he's 28. He's probably quite settled. So Kyogo at the minute is just on fire. I think he's the top goal scorer, 27, 28 goals for us this season. He's definitely breaking that 30 barrier and best since Larson. I've already discussed it. He's just getting better and better. Like
I might be got to ask you something like that. I thought. I mean, I've said plenty of times I would have played Giakoumakis before Kyogo in these games, but that was just a personal preference. It's just the type of striker I like. But I think Kyogo, he's shown how important he is in these games. That equaliser at Ibrox is really, I think it's given the confidence to he needs to do it in Europe now. I do think he needs to do it in Europe and prove it there. But domestically, we know he can be relied on and stuff. And I think his second goal's another. What's that?
The record with one player scoring 6 goals against them, Kyogo could beat that. He's on 5, isn't he? Double in the cup, double in this game. So I think he's probably going to beat that.
He's got
great shout, Patrick. Great shout.
All going well. He's got 2 games to do it, and so you would back him the way he's turned up in his last few fixtures. And we'll kind of fast forward to Kyogo's second goal, Stephen. It was a proper poacher's goal. Poor defending for Rangers. I think you can admit that. Davis has got to just put that out for a corner, but fluffs his lines kind of and comes off Jota's knob that folk thinks is a hand and stuff. I don't know what Michael Beale Tavernier's saying there. They see this phantom handball and we get a lucky break and stuff, and Kyogo just on the swivel and scores it. And like we said, it's another double in the derby for him.
I mean, see, to be fair, like that goal epitomises the attitude of this team, because it looked like it was going for a goal kick and it stayed in the air for an eternity. And credit to Jota for getting back in there again and making it hard for Davis to clear his lines. And he was a player we were heavily linked with when Postecoglou first came in from Liverpool. I think he went pressed in Liverpool and they obviously got him. And I'm so happy we didn't. I thought he was an absolute shambles. He didn't look comfortable at all game. And the goal itself, scrappy or not, it's what wins you games. And Jota, I mean, when me and McGrander were watching it, it looked like it hit his hand in the replay, and I was going, let's not celebrate too quickly here. I didn't actually celebrate it because I thought it was getting the VAR and they were going to chalk it off. But when you watch it again, his wee volleyballs assist Kyogo, and Kyogo puts it through McGregor's legs. And again, Kyogo just being there at that right time. And last season, in my opinion, that would have been snatched at, like just fucking over the bar or past the post. And he's managed to take a time and just, again, kind of slow down time and compose himself to flick it through his legs. And I heard in the commentary after, that's what keepers don't like to do, and go down low. And that's a great finish, in my opinion. And Jota getting in that position, I think he crossed it initially, didn't he? And he's kind of fouled it.
He's kind of just
he's fouled it through and just, do you know what I mean, put Ben Davis under pressure. He's crumbled. He's found with his balls, essentially. He's found Kyogo, and Kyogo's pulled away. And I know you're going to touch on their goal and stuff, but yeah, just to get that kind of heads up again and the crowd back on side, and bit of a topsy-turvy game, if we're honest, but I just thought Kyogo, them goals epitomise him as a striker and epitomise his influence in this team.
Well, sticking with Kyogo before we start talking about Rangers goals, and you kind of briefly mentioned the king there, so I think you know where I'm going with this. Now, with this, another double in a big game in the derby, as I've said, and another big game, key player in a cup final, gets a crucial equaliser at Ibrox. Not that it probably was going to have a big factor in the league, but Michael Beale's first derby game, if he comes away with that win at Ibrox, you just never know. Narratives can change. It just gives him a wee bit of impetus to build on something and things. But Kyle obviously gets that killer goal. So, I mean, since last one, we've had guys like Keenan Bellamy, probably better players than, not than last one, but than any striker we've had since then. But they were only here for 6 months. I don't think they can come into that category. McDonald and Hooper, maybe Hooper could come into it. Good poachers and stuff. Edward and Dembele, I think, are top players. But when can Kyogo start getting compared to being the best since Henrik Larsson? For you anyway, Stephen.
I think we discussed this briefly in one of the pods last time, but I think it has to be now. His influence and the way he's come into this team, I think 27 goals, 28 goals, he's going to break the 30 barrier. Last season, he was on the way to do that until he got injured, and I think he finished up still our second top goal scorer, joint with Giakoumakis. And I'm looking at it. You mentioned Edouard, you mentioned Dembele, we've had Hooper, we've had Skippy, all great goal scorers in their day with us. But the way I'm looked at this, for a defined system, a defined way of playing, KyoGOAL fits the bill with a Postecoglou side. I look at Dembele and I think Musa, for example, could he fit into this team? I don't know if it suits him with the pressing. I look with Edouard, he had a wee bit of a stint in the team, but his head wasn't in it. Could he have done a job? So all obviously hypothetical questions that we're never going to answer. And I look at KyoGOAL and I think, to me, like as I said, he's on the peripheral for like 90 minutes. He pops up during that 90 minutes with 2 goals or a hat trick in some games. And I look at his goal scoring exploits, and not only that, his assists as well. Do you know what I mean? He makes them cute wee passes around the corner. He's starting to link up the play. And 2 full seasons, he's probably wanting 40 odd goals and 70 odd appearances. And I think that's.
It must be.
I think that's.
Well, but there's or thereabouts, eh?
I think that's
goal return.
100%. Obviously, we'll have. I mean, Gary Hooper was a goal scoring phenomenon when he was with us. Poacher, Skippy as well. We can't discredit him. Saraski, his first season was on fire. And then you look at Edouard, but different strikers. Dembele was an absolute unit. But I just think for me, KyoGOAL has to be considered among that. I think we'll look back in a few years' time and all this kind of dies down and KyoGOAL leaves and this kind of era of the Celtic team dies away and we're selling them on and start a new cycle. We'll appreciate but I'm just saying, we'll appreciate them even more. I want to come to the comments. I'm Hoops Boy, if I can find it here. KyoGOAL will never be a legend. Sure, Argon's Super Scoreboard says Rangers are banning him in the summer. Did you hear that? Some Rangers are mad. Wow. Alistair Jack Hooper only comes into the Willie decides. Patrick McLaughlin, if KyoGOAL gets 3 or 4 Champions League goals next season and bangs in 40, you're talking Larson Neville's in. Yeah, I think the only way he has to improve on, like Patrick said, there's European exploits. The whole team, to me, has to improve on that level. Right. Yeah, and KyoGOAL's among that unit. So if he stays next season and he starts the Champions League campaign on fire, we'll have to put him into that kind of bracket. Because we've seen Edouard score in the Champions League. Dembele did it against like Manchester City overhead kick. So for me, KyoGOAL is up there with them in terms of quality, if not just slightly better. But the European level for me speaks volumes, and when he gets that onto the bag, I think no question he'd be the best since Larsson.
I've kind of got to agree with you. I mean, for me, I would put Dembele and Edouard above him just now, and that's solely based on what they managed to do in Europe. They've done it in Europe. KyoGOAL hasn't really done it yet. He kind of snatched that a couple of chances in the
Champions League. If you had the choice of if you had the choice of an Eddie from a Rogers era or KyoGOAL now to play in that game there on Saturday, who would you play?
I mean, I'm the guy that said KyoGOAL is everything right for our team, but would pick Giakoumakis. So I'm probably going to pick Eddie. Probably picking Eddie, aye, which is probably everything wrong for this team right now. Because I mean, I'm not saying Edouard couldn't do the press, but they're again taking nothing away from Edouard. It didn't come across as a type that would press. So I think he would do it in this team. I don't know. Good players sometimes just they will adapt to fit a system. But for me, I would still hate Edouard and Dembele above him. But if KyoGOAL turns up next season in the Champions League, or turns up in Europe anyway, and does it, maybe scores another 20 to 30 goals domestically, then maybe if he's here again, carries it into the following season, I think he's got to come into the equation for the best since Larsson. I think he'll be thinking then he would eclipse the Dembele's and Edouard and things like that.
When I was having that chat with Dan Orlowitz, like talking about the Japan team, it just baffles me how he doesn't get selected more often. And he boiled it down to something in terms of he started when he was 22, that kind of cycle playing professional football, and you have to look at it. Japan have over 70 European nationals to pick from in terms of for their national team. So I think he's a bit hard done by in that level, and I think he's took a lot of that personally. If you've ever seen that wee bit of an interview done with a Japanese journalist, I can't remember his name, but you shared it to me on WhatsApp.
I think the guy's name is Yato, I can't remember. Something like that.
Yato. I think he took a lot of that personally, but he's put it on the pitch for us, kind of taking that out, the anger, the frustration. and continues that form, continues the way he's going. I have to say myself, I would have him above Eddie and Dembele any day of the week, friendly.
No, it's a fair argument, Stephen. It's like you say, if you're basing it on how we play the now, it's hard to argue against KyoGOAL. Like we've all said that he fits the system great and stuff. So it was just thought I'd just chuck that in there just for a wee debate.
Liked it.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up, but let's bring it up, Moy. I think the midfield three. We'll talk about the midfield three during Ross. I think everybody bar Anthony, maybe. I mean, folk in the comments might prove me wrong, but I think everybody bar Anthony we called Iwata, Kalmak, and Moy to start on Saturday. I think that made sense. I agreed with you, Stephen, and I don't. The Moy and O'Reilly just gives me O'Reilly Rogic sort of feels for last season in Europe and things like that. Just it was an experiment that didn't work and never seemed to work. So, what did you think? Well, I know you were surprised because I told you to sit down when I sent you the team on Saturday. But what were you thinking when you seen that trio starting, and how do you think they coped in the game? I mean, I think we can all agree, like you say, Moy wasn't fit at all.
I mean, before I come on to that, Alistair Jack with a great point. Iwata saved the game, and I will come on to Iwata because I thought he made a great influence. When you sent me the team, I think my words were to you quite naively, we've lost it. We've lost this game. And it's just the opinion of me, like Moy and O'Reilly, you've nailed it perfectly. It's Rogic and O'Reilly together. They're great going forward, and they're great when they're on the ball. But see, when you have to get a defensive tune out of them, you're not getting it. So you need one or the other. You need an Iwata in there or an Hatate beside one of them. Moy starting wasn't the big shock for me. The big shock for me was O'Reilly starting because we kind of seen where O'Reilly was at that time. I thought Iwata would have come in to make up that free with McGregor and Moy. But the basis for Moy with me is on the basis he was fully fit and able to cope with a match of that magnitude. And right from the first minute, he was woeful. And Phil McGinley comes in, very concerned about Moy's performance. That was him back after a layoff just a couple of weeks, and he looked so off the pace. Was like Moy pre-World Cup, slow and sluggish. And I totally agree. You nailed it there, Phil. Every time he had the ball, I was shiting myself, and that's putting it politely. The amount of times he got caught on the ball, the fact that he was still on the pitch after half-time bemused me. He rugby tackled, I think, Ryan Jack in the middle of the park by grabbing his ankle just because he nipped the ball off him. He didn't look quick. Not that he is ever quick, but I mean, and even in his thinking, it seemed like to me he wasn't even in there present. His mind was gone. Every ball he hit, and I think he was a major influence on how bad our passing was in the first phase, the first half, and he was so off it. And I've been supporting Moy. I've changed my tune on him, but see, watching performances like that, it's a wee knock to my head, being like, that's what he's really like. That's for me what he is. And in European football, especially European football, he cannot afford to take 4 or 5 seconds on the ball and pick a pass. He has to be away. He has to be like a Tate, swiveling or just playing a simple ball, getting it out of your feet. And I watched him. He was taking the ball and his body was facing like square on. He wasn't turning. He wasn't looking behind him. The crowd were having to tell him when a man was coming to him. And I was just like, why is he still on the pitch? After like 25, 30 minutes, I was genuinely going to McGregor. He needs to come off. I was calling him everything under the sun. I was losing my mind. And I thought he was getting primed for this game last week because Ange Postecoglou knew Hatate had a high risk of being out. I thought he would have been in there, even though it's a Glasgow Derby game. But to throw Moy back in, and clearly he's not match fit, I have to hold Ange accountable for that. I thought it was an absolutely terrible decision. It looked like, as I said, maybe in an instance there, he was trying to get a tune out of him by putting him in a high game where you get that kind of, what's that, adrenaline rush, and you get that kick, you get that fire, and you kind of run on that. But he was running on empty from the first minute. And I tell you, Alistair Jack, and I know you're a big fan, he was absolutely shite. And I have no question saying it. O'Reilly, for me, had the far better game. And even at that, O'Reilly wasn't even that impressive. He done a cracking assist for Kyogo. But yeah, and I want to come to the comments again. Jed Thomas, let me see here. Moy was poor on Sat, but he was outstanding in the League Cup final against them. Yeah, 100%. Brown Warrior, he was brutal. Plums McNugget, evening dolls and twos, it's bloody freezing, -12, 100%. Hoops Boy, we need to find another Hatate type. That midfield suffers when he doesn't play. Million percent. That's a great point. And I tell you what it is. Having one player that you miss like that's not good. We need. I know we talk about squad depth all the time. Friendly, we bang on about it, but we've no one else like Hatate. And again, please stop comparing Awada to Hatate. I've seen it again in every Twitter forum or whatever Twitter thread. Oh, Hatate and Awada are similar. They're not similar. They're not. Awada's a defensive midfield player. That's all he is. All he will ever be. He's there to sweep up the ball. And I thought Alistair Jack made a great point. He done that perfectly well when he came on. And I think he balanced the game out when he came on. And Moy, as I said, that's a Postecoglou fault for me. And I don't like saying it, but it's true.
I kind of agree with Stephen. I don't think it certainly wasn't Moy's best game. Like I think for me, the surprise was O'Reilly in instead of Awada. And I agree with Kenny Falsey. I'm not concerned, but it wasn't great. Maybe I don't think Angel he might come out and defend him and say, he just wasn't fit. I taking a wee gamble on him, knowing what he could do in these fixtures and stuff, basing, like Jed said, basing it on the semi-final. I mean, I think Angel's more intelligent than that he's just got to play a guy because of one game, but knowing what he can do in this fixture, how important he was in the previous fixture against them, maybe Ange thought, well, if I can get a good 60, 70 minutes out of him, he'll generally be coming off then anyway. And hope for the game's dead and buried. He maybe just thought I just wasn't ready for it. But I was disappointed in why was he no fit? I don't think he was properly fit. But maybe it was just a bad day off. But I totally agree with what I came on. It kind of gave us that energy a wee bit in the middle of the park and stuff. It just covered a lot of grass and made his cell available. And Kira was shutting off spaces and stuff like that. So I think Awada, without being on the ball a lot, it was important and stuff. It was always taking up spaces, looking for a pass or managing to be in a position where Rangers maybe couldn't play through the lines and stuff. So it was good off the ball, I thought. But I just thought I would give you a moment to.
It might have been different. It might have been different if Awada started beside Moy. Now that could have been different because the energy Moy would have had round about him to do the running, do the dirty work. Do you know what I mean? So he has to focus on the playmaking side of things. But to have O'Reilly and Moy starting as criminal, especially in a game like that, Anthony Dunn, mental that I was comparing Moy to Craig McDowell at the 2010 Ryder Cup on Friday. Then he went and had his poorest game in the Celtic jersey. Still love him, but Big Daddy could. Again, I'm not going to throw him away onto the bus here after another poor game, but it's just a wee reminder, folks, of what Moy can produce in a Celtic shirt, and it's dog shit.
Well, I'm going to keep the mood up, Stephen, and we'll go back to Rangers' first goal. And Joe Hart.
Keep the mood up. We're talking about Rangers first.
Okay. Joe Hart. For me, I mean, I think I told you in the chat that maybe the result is kind of blinkered my opinion on Joe Hart. Take nothing away. It's a great strike for Tavernier. It's not right in the corner. But for me, I think I don't know how much blame you can put at Joe Hart's door for this one. I do agree his movements are great. He's in the middle of the goal. It's went over the wall side. I know you're not expecting the wall to stop that, but for me, I'm not totally wanting to blame Joe Hart, but I agree he's got his arm outstretched and it's no far away from him. But I don't know. Could they have done better? Possibly, but I'm not too bothered. But I think you might have a different opinion, though, Stephen.
Well, I mean, first of all, it was insane for O'Reilly to go for a slide challenge right in that area of the pitch. I was like, what are you doing? And I know his best intention is to win that ball, but he was never getting it in a million years. Captain James Tavernier, they're absolute warrior on the pitch. The man who's won about 2 trophies in 19 years steps up and surely to God. I mean, let's be fair here for a minute, right? And I know they're going to probably finish this season without a trophy, so they should make a wee plaque or something for their trophy room for for Tavernier. Do you know what I mean? They should make a wee plaque just to fill the space. They so they can lift it at the end of the season. I don't know, 100 goals for Tavernier. Do you know what I mean? Means absolutely nothing, but it might mean something to them because they always moan about it. But the free kick to me, Joe Hart, first of all, he set up his wall really well. I saw him talking to his wall on the TV cameras. He was quite happy with that. He was central in the goal because he knows Tavernier can go left or right. But you said he had his arm outstretched. I seen the replay, mate. It was like this. He didn't fully outstretch it. It was like this. And he's done that a few times, in my opinion, especially in European football. And the reason why it looks so good is because it's clipped the underside of the bar. And I get that 100%. The old bar, the sound into the back of that, it's going to look far more better than it actually was. I think Joe Hart's quite slow, especially for that level of football. I think he was slow getting across. It was probably. Now, I'm not a goalkeeper here, but if you're looking at that and that's come across, where it actually went would have been really, I'd say, quite close to him. So, I mean, a couple of steps and he could have made that dive. And Tavernier struck it well. I'll give him it. 100%. I'll give him it. But Joe Hart should have done better for me. And I know that's quite harsh. And maybe he wouldn't have saved it, but just to get fingers on it or something, or meet it when it's hitting that bar coming down again. I just think that, to be honest with you, and I've made my stance quite clear on him from very early on. While he's been there, he's been great. But an upgrade needs to be coming, and that needs to be coming in the summer.
Barkas.
Well, mate, we drive the train for Barkas. So if he comes back from Utrecht and he's on form, then maybe his hologram hands. I don't know. Maybe he's growing new hands. Nah, it won't be Barkas. I think we know it won't be Barkas, but I'm pretty sure Postecoglou has his ears and fingers and all sorts of pies, and he's got something coming. Joe Hart, for me, is really hitting the twilight of his career now. We're going to talk about the other guy in the net, Mr. Callum McGregor, who is literally on a simmer for him. But yeah, for me, Joe Hart, second choice next season. That's probably the best I'll give him.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Ange's looking at a new goalkeeper, but I would say that for every position. I think we all bang on about how good a manager is, so we would expect him to be looking to improve the team in every position. I honestly don't see Seagrass getting a chance. He doesn't. I
think he's more like a Scott Carson, just floating about.
I don't know that because Scott and in Seagrass's defence, Scott Carson is kind of in there to fill up a quota. Being English, I think he must be about 50, and I think he's still signed on at Man City just to get their English quota up. But Seagrass, I was happy when we signed Seagrass. I never thought he was going to come in and be number one, but I thought it was a good number two. I thought he'd get more chances. I think he's had injuries that stopped that, but I just don't see us going. I don't see us going for a keeper this summer, but I don't see us saying to Joe Hart, right, they've been amazing for 2 seasons. The guy we brought in last summer, we've gave him about 3 minutes of football. We've got to give him the number one jersey now. I just didn't see that in Seagrass. It's one of the ones I think it comes under the McCarthy. I mean, you could argue Joe Hart was one of these signings as well. At the time, we needed numbers in, we needed bodies in. I think maybe Seagrass was one of them. We needed a reliable number 2, which I think is a Scott Bain. I think is our Scott Carson, really.
Yeah,
just in there to fill up the quota. But I would be. I don't think we should really be. I wouldn't say wasting resources because obviously if you can get a better goalkeeper, it's not you're not wasting money, are you? But I wouldn't be looking initially as a goalkeeper next season. I think we should be looking in other positions to strengthen. Like I know it's not going to be easy, but a Hattati type player. Try and get that bit. So I think Joe Hart we'll have another season with Joe Hart as our number one anyway, because I think it's a 4-year deal he's got, or 3 or 4. I don't see him going anytime soon.
It's no slight. It's no slight in Joe Hart for me. It's just an opinion I have. I mean, Mark Kearney came in there and said he likes Hart. You like Joe Hart. I'm just looking at it. When he came into us, we were lack of experience, lack of leadership. McGregor was the only one really driving that. He's come in and took it with McGregor to another level. And you can see that on the pitch with the players and the respect he gets from his manager as well, Postecoglou. But I just look at it and like you, Franny, not prioritising the position, but if we get a goalkeeper in, I'd be really happy. And if it's for the number one spot, I'll be even more happier. And you like Scott Bain, I think, is going to be there to fucking till he retires. To be honest, he's on probably a healthy paycheck as it is, and he won't be too bothered if he's third choice, and that's fair dues to him. So I mean, we give him that deal, but Postecoglou to me knows that Joe Hart, and I think he will know that he's slowing down. And I know when he was at Spurs, maybe harshly back then, Nuno, his manager, was Nuno at the time, said he was too slow for football, even at that point. But again, he came back from that really well with us, and I just think at this moment in time, you can see it. And it's no slide on him, but for European football next season, I hope we have better. I really hope we have better.
I mean, I so do I, but I think a lot of us banged on for a better left back, and we've got Bernabei.
Hey! I like Bernabei. I still don't understand why people don't like Bernabei. Oh,
I mean, a lot of it's maybe tongue in cheek and that, but the boys got a long way to go. I mean, what was that Carroll made ran clean through and goal when they tried to pass it to anybody at the weekend? The guy could have been an instant hero, but well, let's not dwell on it. I'm not here to bash Bernabei the night, man. I'm not here to bash him. We'll move on to our superstar for Portugal, Jota. All leading up to the week leading up to it, we had this song out. Is it Ellie Dixon? I think the girl on TikTok or something done the song on TikTok, and it's kind of just blew up. And then a Celtic fan, Bems, I'm just showing my age. I've not got a clue who this guy is. I'm not quite as bad as that with Bernabei, but he's doing all right. He's doing all right for himself. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying in regards to Bernabei. He's doing all right for himself. But I think Celtic kind of with this, like with their socials and stuff, with this Jota on the wing song and stuff, you've seen how that Ellie Dixon and that boy Bems done a wee video inside the stadium. They showed it to Jota. I think for me, maybe the stars were just lining and stuff, Stephen, for Jota to have a big say in this game, and his goal put us up 3-1 and stuff. It obviously turned out to be the winning goal, but what do you make of the main man now? He's just seems to be everything's about him now. Well, say everything's about him, but he is getting this song about him. He seems to be more a focal point than now and stuff, and it's a catchy song. Let's be honest, how she's done it.
Jota on the wing, Jota on the wing. See, to be honest, to be fair, I still need lyrics. I know the song. I know that's bad, but honestly, it's only lyrics I know. But I know what you mean. The whole Felipe Llanes he's going to be, if not already, a superstar in world football. I think we can see that. He's got shades of what Ronaldo was like when he was younger, and he's developed his own kind of way of playing as well. I think on the right hand side is probably still not his best position, but he's still popping up with goals and assists. So we can all agree it's working out with him and Made at the minute. But Jota, for the last 3 to 4 weeks, he's been immense. Maybe not the whole games, but when he's actually made an influence in his direct running, his pace, his play, and that goes back to what Harry Kewell said in an interview with Graham Hunter. Tell the players not to be afraid of making a mistake, and he does it time and time again. He goes back to it, he tries it again, and then he keeps going, and eventually he gets the best of the opponent that he's up against. And the goal for me, if you want to call Callum McGregor retired now, he's not signing no new deal. He looked like he was off his nut coming in that their goal. His head, his eyes were popping out. He was knackered. He couldn't even move. And John Suter, I think to be fair as well, by the way, when although we all think he's shy, but when Goldson wasn't in the starting lineup, that was a bit of a shot to the arm for the players. And John Suter's coming back from a long layoff, and they signed him on a free. No surprises there. I think that was his first 90 minutes in fucking months. So he's come back in really raw, and he looked every bit raw. He was terrible alongside Davis, and that pass back was criminal. I don't even know where he was aiming at. But Jota getting in that position, closing down the space, hunting down the ball like Postecoglou wants him to do. And even at the angle, by the way, it's not an easy finish. It's not the...
No.
That's coming away from the goal. And the fact that he had the composure to kind of turn around and put that back in ever so slightly, just kind of direct it back and target again, speaks volumes of him. I think he's just an absolute superstar. And coming to the comments here, let's see. Let me have a wee look. Jota needs to up his game. He still isn't playing his max potential. Oof. Do you know what I mean?
I really agree with that. I think that maybe could touch on what you were saying, how he doesn't do it for the 90 minutes. Maybe he needs to do it more over a 90-minute game more consistently, which I agree.
Yeah, and then Brown Warrior, Suter only played 42 minutes all season before that game. We should have been targeted. Yeah, 100% agree with that. There was lack of that, to be honest, Brown. We should have just kept going at him 100%. But yeah, back to Jota. Just he has Barisic on toast. He was coming in. He had a shot in the first half coming in from the right, and McGregor palmed it away, albeit it looked like a save for the TV cameras. But yeah, he's been incredible. Mark Kearney, Creston here, was Johnston's performance overrated? I thought he was lucky with a goal and also could have given away a penalty. P.S. I think he's got it. We'll get on to that, Mark. We've got a list. My brother comes in.
This is my first time at this, Mark. Didn't confuse me.
It'd be funny if Jota said "Sue" after that thing. Jed Thomas, guys, no more negativity tonight. That's what to say. Listen, Jed, you know us, right? We like to dissect the game, and if there's a couple of negatives, we're going to come on to the positives.
I'm just trying to make this my first and last time hosting Jed, so I'm trying to make it a car crash here. Jota for me, I think he's up there as one of our key players. He's really turning up and getting key goals. I think that's his first goal in his last 3 starts against Rangers in the league as well. So he's coming up, trumps in his fixtures and stuff. And like you say, Stephen, he's his pressing. That's brilliant. I think he's like his pressing and Kyogo's pressing put Suter under pressure and stuff, and it's like you say, it's how we play. And he takes a touch round it as a tight angle and stuff he puts in, but it put us in what we thought was going to be easy streak. I think you knew that celebration. I think when he done that the first time with the raised hand, it was so wee bit an iconic celebration. I think he knew it was up to this time. He's doing that for the cameras. Right? He had that. We said he was. He knew how he was celebrating if he scored on Saturday. Well, an important goal anyway. Aye, it was, but that's well before my time, so I'll just trust him that Jinky Jones celebrated like that. For me, Jota, it's just, I think just the Celtic media and that were sort of promoting this song. It just felt like something was going to happen for him big in the game. So it was great that he got a goal, got us what turned out to be the winning goal. And if we just kind of we move on, obviously Tavernier, big congratulations, gets his 100th goal in a defeat against Celtic again. Gets another defeat against Celtic. But we'll see the real range. Enough about that. We'll see the real Rangers at Hampden upon this. So Tavernier's words. We can rely on it. He said that the last few games. We'll see the real Rangers. So the game finishes 3-2, Stephen. Like you say, there's a couple of nervy moments, always challenging the dying seconds at the edge of the box. You're like, oh no. But
Michael Barisic, Agent Barisic got the rescue over the bar.
I mean, I'm not saying Tavernier's, but Tavernier's already scored a really good free kick. He's on for a hat trick. It's one of them. You're like, why is it? I'd have been aware of that. Aye, right.
Big up, Franny. Big up, Franny. Yeah.
I'll take it, Alistair. I'll take it. I'll slip you. I'll send your address and I'll get you that 20 quid along. I forgot to get your address. So we managed to see out the game 3-2, and it's 12 points clear. It's a big win and stuff, and we're just going to touch on some key performances and stuff. We'll answer Mark's question. For me, Alistair Johnston, I thought he was absolutely brilliant at the weekend. Got man of the match. I think he had Kent in his back pocket. Just apart from the Morelos goal, and I do kind of agree with what Mark's saying. We maybe could have gave away a penalty with that second one. I thought it'd have been, to be fair, I thought it'd have been really, really harsh. I thought it'd have been really harsh, but he has got a hold his shot, so he just didn't know with VAR being involved. But what did you think of Alistair Johnston's performance?
Johnston. Jesus, that man plays like he's been at Celtic for hundreds and hundreds of years, Franny. He's just fitted into that role. And Juranovic, to be honest, we all thought he'd be a big miss, but not being disrespectful. But now we're looking back on what we actually missing. Because I don't think in a million years Juranovic puts that kind of heart and will into a performance like that. And that's no disrespect. I think
I
they're
was a
two
big
totally
Juranovic fan, but
yeah.
I'm in Johnson every day of the week.
I think they're totally different types of players. And for me, Johnson loves the physical battle. He loves getting in about challenges, and he's not the most pretty on the eye. But I'll tell you one thing: you're not getting past him without a fight. And remember the game Juranovic had Kent in his back pocket.
I was laughing.
And he was kind of laughing at him. Johnson done that times 10. Kent couldn't wait to get away from him. Could not wait to get away from him. I thought as well what struck me was the drive he was giving us. Do you know what I mean? It was just
he was actually beating
constant.
He was
beating men.
I've never seen him beat a man since he came in.
To be fair, he's up against bars. Like me and you can probably beat him. He's a wee shite bag, as McGregor likes to say. But I think like he oozes class. He buys what Celtic means, and I know we all hate the phrase, Mark especially, but he gets it. We've kind of referenced that a few times, and he's just a Celtic man to me. He's a mad like an old school type right back mixed in with a bit of modern day flair, if you know what I mean. He just doesn't shirk anything. He gets in about everybody. Do you know what I mean? And it's incredible. And I do want to bring the comments because they're getting highly involved here. Boise Bus kind of backing up what I was saying there. Good to have you, Russell. AJ brings everything to the party. That annoyed me. JJ didn't 100%. And that game he came on the left back, he was already checked out. In my opinion, that's why they get so much joy from Sakala. Jed Thomas been saying for weeks, Johnson is so much better than JJ in defence. San Fran Celtic, AJ's a tonic. Brown Warrior, neither GG or JJ are missed. That's testament to the players who replaced them. I love them both. I'm sad to see them go, but fair play to Hans Graham that comes in. You need subtitles. We don't have the money for that. We don't have the money for that, Graham. You know what I mean? But yeah, and then Kevin 14, AJ Alford can't score a goal in the car park. I mean, if you look at this, right, I'd say Greg Taylor and Johnson are quite similar in the way they play the game. Do you know what I mean? They're great. Well, you know what I mean. Sometimes defensively in Taylor's part, AJ for me all the time, and they just get in about it. They kind of back it up with just leadership as well. We've seen that from Taylor last season coming out of his shell into this team, and Johnson captain material already, buddy. I think he's just up there. He's mixed in with the team really well. He's dealing with everybody, and it's one of these things. And Brown Warrior nailed it. It's testament to Postecoglou. It's testament to the recruitment team. You can lose Giacomakis. You can lose Juranovic, by the way, who was playing in the World Cup. Do you know what I mean? Like fucking quarterfinals. Johnson was playing in the World Cup, but not at that level like Juranovic was with Croatia. I think we've won a watch. That I'd say we've won an absolute watch, and he's solid, and I love him. I just think every time he's on the team, I feel safe, and that's so cringy to say. He's a warrior.
I get it.
He's an absolute warrior.
I totally get it. Like I was a big JJ fan and stuff. I think he's class in the ball, but defensively, I thought he was good defensively. But I think when you see Johnson, I think Johnson proper shows him up defensively and stuff, and I think that was one of his best performances at the weekend. Like say, gets away with one for me with the Morelos one in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially could have gave away a penalty in the second half with the shirt pull and stuff. I think Ross mentioned in the chat earlier, they took two set pieces, the two corners. Morelos had them on both of them, managed to outmuscle him and stuff. But I think in the main, the guy had a really good game and stuff, and I think he's a great find for us, a really good signing. Like you see him in the media and everything as well. He's brilliant. He seems to be a good bit of patter about his selling stuff. Seems to be he's in a lot of the sort of Celtic videos they release and stuff and like that. But the White Tiger Woods man, he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
If you look at it as well, right? Let's look at his performance a bit. Now, we talked about the penalty incident. The goal Morelos scored but got chalked off, right? We kind of agreed that was 50-50, right? The goal what Tavernier got, well, me more when you Franny, all right. The goal that Tavernier got in the back stick, yeah, that could be his fault, but at the same time, you have to understand.
I'm not really keen. I don't know about that one because
he sucked in. He sucked in.
He's came for Rangers corner, but Tavernier's team for that side and gambled and stayed in there.
What I think as well with that incident is if Johnson peels off who he was marking at that time, if he leaves that man, it's going to be his fault as well. So the way I'm looking at this, I think for me, Joe Hart personally should have done better again. I mean, Tavernier in that position, he gets a
done everything right.
he gets a clean header to it, but I think Joe Hart should be out, and that's what annoys me about Joe Hart. He doesn't command his box really well. That's one kind of gripe I have about him. But yeah, I just think all round, the 95th minute, he was up and down that line, and no one could get by him. No one.
And I think that energy kind of, it gives you something. It maybe gives the players something as well. But we'll move on to somebody else. Try and keep it positive for Jed here. Callum McGregor. Now, for me, I wouldn't say, again, he never had a bad game. I think I've said it plenty of times. I think we all have. Callum McGregor, not underrated, but I think his performances are taken for granted at times and stuff. We just expect an 8 and a 9 out of 10 from him. It's what he does. I don't think he was quite up to that. It maybe was, but not in the way we're used to seeing him playing that sort of a deep line, sort of a playmaker. But I thought, I can't remember what minute it was, but there was a free kick that we got, and Barisic kind of taking the ball, and McGregor tried to get it off him, and Barrett's kind of sort of pushing him stuff, and Joe Hart's he's just kind of laughing in his face and stuff. And there was a challenge as well where I think 2 Rangers players went in, and McGregor just went in. It was like a good proper old school challenge and stuff. Don't think it was a foul for either way. I think we got the forfeit, and I think we were maybe, the game was sort of flat at the time. The crowd were a wee bit flat, and McGregor, he'd done something that I've never really seen him do, where he sort of G'd up the crowd and stuff. And I think that was intelligent for him. He knew that maybe the team needed something, and they were struggling to. The team needed the fans, but the fans needed the team to do something. Felt like that watching it, and I just felt maybe he knew in that moment, I've got a chance here to get the crowd going, which then might get onto the team and get them going. But I thought McGregor just he kind of channeled his inner Scott Brown there for me.
I mean, if we're honest, I think the midfield trio at the start had a great game overall. Let's be honest about that. McGregor's obviously the linchpin to that midfield.
Fucking went totally full circle in that Aaron Moy then, have you know?
What do you mean?
You said Aaron Moy was terrible, and then you said
I said to be fair, the midfield trio didn't have a great game overall.
Oh, right. I think you said they had a good game of.
You winding me up there. Fuck, tell me about it, man. It's hard enough here. I mean, people are going, "What's he saying?" And we don't. But I think like McGregor to me does his job quietly, and in that game, he was effective. But I've seen a lot of people saying that he seemed a bit riled up, and that's something I like to see in McGregor. I don't think it necessarily means the opposition players are in his head. You made a great point. He's looking at that final 15, 20 so minutes. He's going, we need the fans back up here singing, chanting, getting back momentum behind the team, and he's cheated them up at the right times during that game. And I thought it was done well. And I know him and Raskin, by the way, had a few words. Him and Cantwell, but just about Jesus, that's why I'm on them too. Were they not meant to make the big difference here? Our midfield was honking, but their midfield was absolutely rank rotten.
And I know you're bad in spells, but I can't.
Just because he wears low socks down his shins does not make him look good. He didn't bring nothing to the game for me. Cantwell went missing. Ryan Jack was all right, to be fair, but we know what he provides to the team. But yeah, in terms of McGregor, I just think that he can't underestimate him in the Celtic team, whether he's on a 6 or a 7 or a 9 or a 10. And just by coincidence, he was at a 7 probably at the weekend, and he still controlled the midfield at parts, even though they tried their best to man mark him and stuff like that, which had done quite well. And yeah, just getting the crowd back on side, and he's probably picked up a few things from Scott Brown, but he knows when to use it. So I mean, he knows when to G up the crowd. He knows when there's a 50-50 to be like, come on. And especially when he's involved, why not get that behind? And I want to come to the comments again here. John Duncan already had a great game. Patrick McLaughlin already touching the first goal with sublime. Unbelievable. Hoops boy, Tesco value Grealish. And Brian Moyer for me sums this up perfectly. He's captain Celtic to a 12-point lead.
Aye, summed up perfectly. And speaking of 12 points, that is us 12 points clear now. Obviously, we've got a League Cup final, Scottish Cup semi-final coming up. For me, all the pressure's on Rangers in that game. I mean, obviously, there is some pressure on us to go with how we've played against Rangers. I mean, we've only been beat once in 2 years off them. Apart from, well, they've got the Scottish Cup, I suppose, but once in 90 minutes, obviously they won the Scottish Cup game in extra time. So they have beat us twice under Postecoglou, but in the league, and since Postecoglou's came in anyway, we've been the dominant side, especially over them, and turned in some really, really dominant performances. Even the 2-1 at Ibrox where Ramsey scored earlier, and I thought we were really good that game in a sort of a defensive manner anyway. So for me, I think all their season is absolutely riding on this semi-final and stuff. I think the narrative could soon change on Michael Beale. Now, for me, I called the league before the 12 points, but I think, if we're all being honest, I mean, I know the team's not got to come out and say it, but it's kind of your gift as a fan to say things like this. Nobody's got to tell us we're talking nonsense at the end of the day. But for me, it's the league's done. So for me, that's 2 out the potential. That's 2 out the treble done and dusted. We've got could be getting the most points, like Ross was touching on Friday, most goals. We've only really had one blip in the season so far with defeat with St Mirren, but also as well, like if we do win in the 29th, like I said, there's less pressure on us to do that. Our season's not dependent on that game. For me, and I think the more it's another game that they need to try and win to then build some sort of momentum, close this gap that they like to talk about. And nobody for Celtic seems to talk about a gap. They're just talking about this mythical gap and stuff. And I think if we beat them in that the semi-final, I think the narrative will soon change on the magician that is Michael Beale, because that'll be him in charge of all the Scottish Cup games. I think he's been in charge of all the League Cup games as well, and he's had 2/3 of a league campaign to inherit a 9-point gap. He's now lost the league twice, if going by him and Goldson's logic that they were to win the league for they came in. So he's 3 points behind in that now. But I'm just what's kind of your thoughts on the League Cup semi-final game, Stephen, and is the league done for you?
The league was done when it was 9 points. I think if I had drew the game there in the weekend, it still would have been done. To be honest, we're not going to drop that amount of points over a course of 8 games. But like you said, Franny, we're 12 points clear. We're also 3 points clear in the Fantasy Football League that Goldson and Michael Beale have fought up the side of the media. So any way they try and spin this, any narrative they try and give, we're winning that league. We're bringing it home. It's going to be in paradise where it should be. Mark Kearney, again, the good thing is that they'll still think the gap is mythical no matter what we win and how we win. That brings me to the League Cup here. No, the Scottish Cup, sorry. That's already in the bag. I mean, we win trophy is effortless at Celtic. I just think if we beat them in the semi-final here, what's the excuse is going to be? Can't well come back out again. They didn't lift the cup. We lifted it, but we lost it. Like, what? It's mental. I've said to everyone before who's watching, you know me by now, what way I speak, what way I get on about certain things, and I've never ever in my life seen someone get as much slack, like in terms of like getting let away with things and everything going for him, than Michael Beale. He could tell you that the clouds are gold outside, and the Daily Record and Sun would print that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'd be a headline. As a matter of fact, this guy has, as we said it on Friday, he's pandering to their support because he knows, again, they're going to have another failure of a season. They're going to be, I mean, the rebuild he's facing in the summer, to be honest, is madness. I think there's 14 players over there who are out of contract, first team and squad players, so to fill that void, and if rumours are led to be believed, they are skint again. So again, we need to take advantage of that and not stand still. I think we should have all them years ago and put the pedal to the metal, rock and roll football. I'm confident for this treble. I don't see no reason why we shouldn't be. I know it's a one-off game, and all the pressure's on them. I said it to you. I do believe genuinely if he loses the cup final or the cup semi, and if he loses the next one at Ibrox, I think he'll be away. I don't think there's any coming back from that. I think Robbie Nielsen.
I agree with you on that. I don't think they'll sack him, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
But I think Robbie Nielsen, the madman, he'll get the job. You know what I mean? He'll be the free agent. He'll get on an intern basis, and then he'll be the one to take them forward. But again, coming to the comments, Phil McGinley, every time they do this, they just go round in a cycle. They'll come with another. If we do this, they'll win Fury ahead of their next game. It's been the same pattern for years now. It has been, Phil. And I think, as I said on Friday, we've pulled away from that. We know we're levels above, and it's just about us to keep the kind of the foot to the pedal and keep the signings coming in, keep us getting stronger. And I don't care how weak they get as a club. I don't care where they are on the table. I don't care if they're in the league. As long as we keep winning, we keep playing our football, I'm a happy man. And nonetheless, I believe we'll go into the Scottish Cup semi-final full of confidence, and hopefully we actually click and play our best and win quite comfortably. And another thing people fail to realise is as well, we know what they have to give at their best. We know what they play like. They've played their best against us, and we've turned up 3 times and played average and got results every single time.
Yeah.
So they've given their all. There's nothing more for them to give. We can go up 1 or 2 levels here. And I think if we click and we get Hatate back fit, we get Moy firing again, get them players much needed minutes in their lives, maybe give Taylor a much needed rest and get them back for that semi-final. Curtains. Absolute curtains.
And I agree with. I mean, we haven't played great in the last couple of games and stuff, and managed to get results against them and things. But one-off games, obviously, things they could turn up. We might not turn up, and it's a one-off game. They could get the result, but I'm fully confident that if we turn up, our destiny's in our hands. Like you say, Steve, if we turn up, we win that game. It's as simple as that. It's not. I don't think it's been arrogant, and then it's just it's been realistic. Like unlike across the city, I think there's a wee bit of they need to pander to the media. They need to sell the season books. They need to keep the team on side, the fans on side, and stuff. And whereas I think we know if we turn up, we've probably got to win that game. There's a high percentage we'll win that game.
If you rewind back to when we won the last the final, funny enough, and all the talk was after, they should have started Raskin, they should have started Cantwell, they should have started X, Y, and Z. They've done that. And we still beat them.
But I think they'll then argue it was at Parkhead. That is, I mean, again, it could just be excuses, but they'll say, well, let's judge that at Ibrox, or let's judge that in the semi-final. They've got to say things to try and keep the fans on side. I get what you're saying, Stephen. I totally agree with what you're saying, but I think, like Phil was touched on, like we've always touched on, they come up with something else for why they've been beat. I mean, Todd Cantwell just kind of couldn't at the end of the day.
Todd Cantwell's mad. I have no idea. Like, he's came up, and to be fair, I'll be honest, same with the sign Cantwell, it was like, oh, that's a good signing, because it was only a few years ago he was good in the Premier League, and he was linked with moves to Tottenham and stuff like that. But when you look at him now, you can kind of understand why his career went downhill at Norwich, and he doesn't look half the player he was. He doesn't look anywhere near it.
And then I think if you turn in the performance that he did on Saturday, you can't come away with comments. See if he had turned in a really good performance, like he was the one that scored the 2 goals or set up 2 goals, had a really good game.
Yeah.
But you get a defeat. Again, the comments still stupid saying, "Oh, we Celtic never won, we lost the game." I mean, players say they type of things all the time, but I think they've got to turn in a better performance than that to actually get away with that type of comment. But
yeah, 100%.
I think as a massive couple of weeks coming up for both teams' season, but it will only define one team's season. I'll not define our season at the end of the day, but it really could just get our season going from there to up there. Like, I think to win a treble, I think it would be fantastic in the manner we do it. And like I say, if you manage to get by Rangers again, and it's just that the longer it goes for Beale to then get a victory in this fixture, it just adds more and more pressure on it. The fans start turning and things like that. So I
really don't like him.
Everything's looking rosy in the garden, Stephen, shall we say. And on that note, I think we'll finish. That's all we've kind of got to talk about. And it's a victory on Saturday. I've hosted. Things are gone weird here. So just a thanks for everybody getting involved and going easy with me on my first day hosting. Thanks for easy, man, Stephen. I hope I'm not getting sacked for the podcast and that. And then I don't know, are you and Ross doing it Thursday? I think it's agreed you're doing it Thursday instead of Friday.
It's changed. it's
Oh no,
changed.
Willie's
For
booked
me,
it, so I think we're just got to be normal.
normal. It'll be William Ross and possibly a guest on Friday for
Just the
Friday's
normal then.
podcast. But
Cool.
yeah, I mean, to be fair for anybody, waiting on you for ages, dude, and you've turned up, mate. -12, we're freezing. You've warmed us all up, and we're ready to take Celtic and the top of the league into the new week here and celebrate. Do you know what I mean? It's incredible.
Yes, and on that note, I'll just sign off with Stephen's famous saying, "Stay well, keep safe, and thank fuck that's over."